my metaphor for teaching is bird watching, which is another practice that I'm involved in and that I have developed over time. When I first started as a bird watcher, I would be very frustrated with looking for field marks, and the birds fly so quickly, and they're in your binoculars 1 second, and you can't really nail any field marks on them. And then as I got more skilled in what I was doing, I kind of was able to let go of the field marks a little bit and say, the way this bird is acting looks like this particular species. And so just that progression of skill, I feel like that's how I've progressed as a teacher, where I have been very meticulously attached to an outline and putting in the content and making sure I teach very much like I was taught. And then sort of being able to loosen up and feel like, well, let's just see what happens here. Mm-hmm. Let's see who shows up when I'm out in the field birding. I kind of don't have any expectations necessarily. I'm just out there and I think, well, who's going to show up today? Mm-hmm. And then also you have to, I feel like I have to slow down in order to be a good birder, and I have to be quiet in order to be a good birder. And I feel like that's very much like being a good teacher, being able to slow down when I'm in the classroom with students and say, wait a minute, let's think about this. I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. And to slow down and be quiet and listen, mm-hmm. and let the students show up for what they are. Let the students' ways of being and ways of interacting and ways of thinking, let that show up by not sort of talking over it or mm-hmm. missing it, just walking through it without looking and without slowing down.
Lisa Day is a quiet, reserved person. She's an astute listener who offers thoughtful questions and then clarifies and extends the answers that students give. In her classes and in clinical, students are actively engaged. She sets a tone that is at once concerned, serious, but also comfortable and accepting of exploration.
It definitely mimics some of the situations as a student on the floor. Mm-hmm. Because, I can see these things and I have questions and I want to engage. Mm-hmm. But it's frustrating there because sometimes, I feel like I'm right, but other times I'm like, oh man, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so it creates those same feelings. It builds confidence sometimes, and then other times.
Yeah. Sends you back to the books maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Does it motivate you to fill in?
It definitely motivates me because I don't want to be in a situation that I don't necessarily know what to do. And mm-hmm. so... I enjoy that in a classroom setting.
They know a lot more, they grasp a lot more of the practice than they even give themselves credit for.
Right.
Because they were saying, oh, I don't know anything about the ICU.
Right.
And yet, when we were talking about concerns for the patient, they were right on about so much of it. And they had sort of the beginnings of these connections that I was trying to pull out of them. What does the practice demand? Mm-hmm. And what I'm trying to help the students engage with is exactly that, the demands of their practice. Mm-hmm. This is the practice that you've chosen to enter, and this is what it will demand of you, is to mm-hmm. think, is to acquire these bits of knowledge and data and information and apply them to a particular patient. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is to help them. Okay, so I give a mini lecture on sepsis, and we look at the balance, the biochemical cascades that are going on and that are disrupted in the septic patient. And then I always want to turn to them and say, so what does this mean for our patient? So how is this going to manifest itself in the symptoms or signs that you see, and how does it generate concerns within you to respond in particular ways to this patient? So always giving them that this is the center of our practice, is what are we going to do to help this patient? My own sort of path in teaching has sort of followed this idea of knowledge development in practice. What am I trying to accomplish with my teaching? I mean, I think that's such an important question. Packing all the content and then giving a lecture, and then my interaction with students would be me asking them a question and them answering the question, and then we move on. And what I realized, what I was really accomplishing with that kind of teaching is getting them really good at taking multiple choice tests.
Right.
And I thought, wait a minute, that's not really what I want to accomplish here. I want them to be good nurses.
Right, right.